There we go. I think recording started. So, hi, my name is Rory Canterbury. I'm your host on Arch Talk 101, and today we're going to talk about ways to set up your rest to get the best performance out of your rest. So, let's go ahead and get started in that. And first off, we're going to be talking mostly about compound bows. There's not as much to set up on a recurve and traditional bows. That's a different process. So, we're going to mostly focus on compound bows today. Now, with the new modern bows, they're all center shot design risers, which means the arrow is in direct line with the travel of the string. So as your string is traveling forward after you release, it's going to go forward. Now, you can affect how that shoots by improper grip. If you got a tight grip or you're twisting or torquing, it's going to change it. So we're going to assume with this that you have a good form. Your release is going to be good, so you're not affecting the way it shoots. So you're going to get a good tear when we're done with what we're going to do. So start with, you want to take and see where the burger button is, and that is the button, or actually the hole where you put your bolt through to hold your rest on. And traditionally on the older styles, it was what called a burger button because you shot with fingers and you need something to help that arrow stabilize the left and right. So that's why it's called the burger button, because that's what was used then. But we're not using that now. We're using it to bolt it on. So generally, you're going to want your arrow to be, unless you use a great big fat one, but the normal arrows, the carbon arrows that most people are shooting today, you want it to be about halfway up where it goes through that button, where your bolt is. So you can look and see where that's at. And that's kind of roughly where you're going to put it. Now, if you want to measure to see where the center of your string is, you can take and measure. I'd probably just take a string around there, because it's easier than trying to take a tape and say, okay, it's this much and half of it. Just take a string, wrap it around both the axles, and then you fold it together and you know where the half is, and that's there. You can start with that as your starting point and see where that goes on, where that bolt is to hold your rest on. And it should be fairly close to right there. So just start with that, put your arrow on there. Now I'm going to assume that you have some way to hold the bow. If you don't have a way to hold the bow, you can probably do this by hanging off of both limbs in the same spot, and let it hang down so the string is horizontal. Uh, Now, some of your bows have a smaller wheel on the top, just some of the single cams. Those might change a little bit, but I'm going to assume that you either have a two cam bow or one where the top and bottom cam are the same size. That way, there's other situations we can run into where that might change. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at where that's going. Now, we're going to talk about the windage, left and right. So there's a couple ways you can do it. Just a quick eyeball. Take and look at the back of the bow from the string side to the riser, and put the string right in the center of your upper and lower limb, and you can adjust your rest with your arrows in a straight line with that. That's just a quick eyeball one. When you've done lots and lots of them, you can set up the low end bows really quick, get it right really close, right off the start. But if you want to be a little bit more accurate, they have a little device you can use for setting up center shot. It's a little wire, and it has a little knob on it. You can move back and forth, and you line up on the string and then back on the arrow and back and forth. But the best way to do it, the way I normally set most of mine up, you have your sight is off, so you bolt this on where your sight goes, and it's got a laser in it. So what you're going to do is you're going to point the laser back towards the string. You're going to adjust it until it's right in the center of the string, and you're going to turn it out till it gets all the way to the tip of the arrow. Now you're going to adjust your rest left and right until that laser is directly in the center of that arrow. If you have a tip on it, that's good, because you can see where the tip goes lined up. That's a perfect center shot, and that's what most of your bows are going to be, is a center shot that way. And now your left and right is set. Don't have to worry about it. And now as far as the up and down, there you're going to have a couple of things you're going to do. You're going to want to have it so that the bow is sitting where you put a level on the riser, and it sits level. And then you're going to put where you decide that knock point is. You're going to that's where you're going to put your loop around the knock, and then you're going to adjust that up and down. So you remember we found that center point earlier. put your nock in there, tie your loop above and below it. I have another video we can talk about, tying the loops in, but let's just assume that you're tying it on correctly and the knot is above and below the knot point or the nock. So now you got it tight. That's on tight. Now you're going to adjust your rest until that is going to be level. That arrow is going to be level. So now you're going to have a level on the string to make sure it's level in both directions. Your riser is level. So that's all set. So now then when you put your level at the tip of the arrow, you're going to adjust that rest until that is level. Now, if it looks like it's too high or too low, then this is where your shooting is going to come in. Now, if you want to really get fine tuned on it, how is the travel on that? The way to do it is if you have a shooting machine, that takes all the guesswork out of it, but not many of us have those. I've never used one. I've seen a couple being used. That's a lot of expense that you don't need to really go to for just general setting up. You can set up to get a perfect shot every time when you're just using it in the other method. So what you're going to do is you're going to get it all set. So now it's level. Everything is all plumb and level. And now that arrow should be having a perfect flight through your paper if you want to put a paper on it and shoot and see what it does. Now just remember, if you got a death grip on that bow or you're torquing that bow, you'll never get a good clean shot because you're making it go do weird things. So take and shoot. Make sure you have a sling on. Let that hand just do what it wants to do. Let the bow sit there and float. It's not going to fall to the ground because you have a sling. A lot of the new bows now, they don't really move forward. The older bows would jump forward and hit your fingers. Now you're going to shoot through paper. Now, if you're having a problem with it tearing, if it's not coming out right, you might need to move it up or down slightly. Now remember, you leveled it out. So if you move the nock point up, you got to move the rest up as well because you want that to be that perfect alignment. So the reason you want that perfect alignment is, okay, if you're listening, if you're not driving, if you're sitting there, grab yourself a pencil and put it on a desk. So you're going to grab your pencil, you're going to put it on a desk. Now, I'm going to try and point this at the camera. Say, where did it go? So we're going to point this right at the camera. Now, if I push from the back end straight through the tip, that is going to go straight. I don't have it on at the camera very well, but that's going to go straight. Now, if I take and move my finger at it instead of going straight, if I go at an angle when I do that, let me see if we can get it lined back up the camera, it's going to go off to the side. That's why you want that string to be putting the force directly through your arrow in a direct path. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have everything set up so that it's all nice and straight that way. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is, now that we have that set up, let's assume that your rest is all set up good. Now the next thing, easiest way we want to do is, my video started playing in the background. So now that you have the rest set up, the next thing would be to get your sight set up. Now, the easiest way to do that is bolt your sight on. Now, you want to look down from the back of the string at the nock point clear to the tip. Now, that string should cover that tips, that whole arrow the whole way. Now, adjust your pins so that you can't see your pins. Now, the pins are in a direct alignment with the arrow, and now everything is all lined up. You're going to have your left and right is going to be set really, really close. You may have slightly a little off of here there, but that's going to be really close. And now, as far as your top 20-yard pin, if you're shooting enough weightage to use a 20 as your lowest and closest pin, now that is going to be lined up a little bit higher. So that'll be another thing on how to adjust that. That's just kind of an eyeball start. You're going to shoot and then go from there. So that's basically how you're going to set up a rest. One of the ways, if you don't have a way to make it all level, now then remember we talked about earlier, we can just hang it from the axle part, at each end, and now put your level on the string, make sure the string is level. And now then it's going to hang your arrows, put your arrow right in that center. We found that center point, and it's going to hang straight down because it's not, it's going to take, go straight down. And your arrow's not going to fall off because your nocks are tight enough that they're not going to fall off. So now you know where that's lining up, that naturally wants to go. And now you can adjust your rest to that point. And then you have that set. And then once you get your rest set for the height, then you would go in and set your windage. So that just, and that, as long as you have the bow sitting up where it's it's more in the shooting position instead of being pointing straight down. Now then you can set that with the laser. If you don't have a laser, then just do the eyeball Ultra setting it up. After you've done several hundred of them, you get pretty good at just setting them up eyeball because you've seen so many of them, you've done so many. But if you're just starting out, you don't have that experience yet, just go ahead and set it up and then see what you want to do with having your bow set up, and then shoot it and see how it goes. Now you're always going to have to shoot it to see, make sure you're on and everything else, because there could be a little bit difference in the way your form shoots, so that you may have a little adjustment you might have to do. But setting up your rest with the lasers and the levels, you're generally not going to have to make any adjustments to that at all. That's going to be set pretty much set dead on. The only thing would be if your bow likes to be a little bit above or below the center, between the two, the upper and lower cam. Uh, there's a lot of variations in there, and that's the part of the fun part, is experimenting to see what are you going to get your best performance with your field tip. Now, put a broadhead on, all bets are off. Whether it be a fixed blade, a 2-blade, 3-blade, 4-blade, or it's a mechanical, they're all going to shoot slightly different. A lot of them like to say, well, the mechanicals, I shoot those because they shoot just like field tips. No, not exactly. At hunting distances, 20 yards or less, you're probably not going to notice much difference in them. I know some of your fixed blades, because when you think about it, you have wings in the back and wings in the front, and they're both trying to steer that arrow. Now, if you have feathers in the rear, which is what I shoot, you have more drag, a little bit more control in the back as opposed to the front. If you're shooting vanes, they don't have as much drag, so they're not going to be able to control it as much. And especially if you use the really low profile ones, try and put on a broadhead, you may have trouble with it. Then you get into speed of the arrow. Now, how fast the arrow? The faster the arrow, the more perfectly tuned the arrow's got to be, as well as how much better you have to be in your form. So that's one of the things you want to look at, is all that kind of stuff. And that's where a good coach comes in handy. Somebody that's done this for a while. I've been setting up bows, since, before I even had a store. So I've been setting up bows and working on bows since the mid 90s. And I've been an archery instructor since 95. So, if you have any questions, let me know. We'd be glad to help. Especially, those of you in the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group. We're there to help you. If you have a question or problem, let us know. We're glad to help. So this was kind of something I wanted to bring out, how to set that rest up. A lot of new archers, not sure how to set it up. If you're a new archer and don't know how to set one up, get a hold of us. We'd be glad to help you out. And, we're reachable on there. Just make a post like, hey, I'm trying to set this up, and, what can I do? And then we can look at what equipment you have, how the best way to go through setting it up. And you can get pretty close by just eyeballing it, and we can go from there. So that's one of the things that I wanted to cover today on this podcast. So if you have any questions, make sure you get a hold of us. And there's multiple ways that you can watch this. I didn't really show anything on the podcast for the video part of it, but we can always ask if somebody has a little bit more questions on it. I can always create, a video and show you how I'm doing it. That's something we can do here in the future. If you're interested, just let me know. You can listen to the Audible on Spotify as well as on audible.com. You can go out there and watch it there. It's free to watch. And you can watch the video on my YouTube channel. It comes out on uh, Tuesdays and Saturdays, where the podcast comes out on Mondays and uh, Fridays. And you can get that. So that channel is Learn to Fix It Yourself. It's the name of my YouTube channel. So go out there and subscribe and get notified when I post more podcast videos or archery videos or uh, freeze drying videos. I have all kinds of stuff. I've been doing stuff for, you know, 60 years, and I'm trying to share my knowledge with those that are interested. And if I can help you with something, whether it's arch related or not, let me know. You can also go out to archtalk101.com. There I have information out there as well. There's some other information there too, but there's multiple ways of getting the content. So once again, my name is Roy Canterbury. I've been hosting on Arch Talk 101, and we'll catch you on the next one. We have some interviews coming up and some more information. I go through, continuing the series of teaching you how to work on your own bows and working on forms, and stay tuned because we're going to have a lot of fun talking to some of these archers from all over the world. And it's been my pleasure to bring the information. I'm glad you're watching and listening. So we'll see you on the next one.